Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for your love and your support. It is your girl again bringing you hot gist and what is trending in the African continent and across the world. Yes, this is all about the China African Summit of 2024. China African Summit 2024. Joining hands to advance modernization and build a high-level China-Africa community with a shared future. That is the theme of this year, China African 2024, also known as FOCAC, or Forum on China Africa, the Forum on China African Summit. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, thank you very much for keeping the channel alive. And for those of you that are new subscribers, thank you for joining the community. Kindly subscribe, or if you're just passing by, don't just pass by. Please kindly listen, participate in the conversation, but most importantly, subscribe, comment, like, and share. And for returning subscribers, I cannot thank you enough. God bless you. Let us continue to grow the community and keep on talking about what is most pertinent for us as young Africans or for the African continent. So we are talking about the China African Summit. It is one of the biggest, like I said in the other video, it's one of the biggest and the highest diplomatic conference that has taken place in recent time. It brought about more than 54 African leaders, either presidents of the country or representatives of those countries. But what is striking is the fact that our own, the most loved and talked about president of our time in Africa was not present at the conference. I'm talking about no other person but President Ibrahim Traore. We all know that he was already booked for this conference months back, because this is a conference that takes place every 3 years. It's all started in in the year 2000, and every 3 years China organizes this summit to boost its relationship with African countries and to foster collaboration in different areas. President Ibrahim Traore was scheduled for this conference, but he canceled the trip at the last minute, and his prime minister had to attend on his behalf. What happened? We are talking about our loved president, and we know what he did when he went to the Russian African Summit. But we all know about the insecurity in Burkina Faso, the recent attacks that has taken place in Burkina Faso. And so, as you know, he is a captain, so he wouldn't prioritize the security of his country over this conferences or seminar. But of course, he has able administrators that he had to send one to represent him in China. So we are talking about the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso and the fire that he brought at the China African Summit this year. It is indeed true. In Africa, we say that an apple does not fall far from the tree, from the apple tree, or a pear does not fall far from the pear tree, which means that a lion cannot give birth to a goat. So a lion definitely gives birth to another lion. So the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso was so bold in his statement that he had to call out African leaders in the conference, just like Ibrahim Traore called out African leaders during the Russian African Summit. He was very emphatic and was very clear. He didn't mince his words. He said in his word that African leaders lack political will. African leaders, they lack political will to make decisions for themselves. And that is why most African countries are still being controlled by the West, by foreign powers. He said that most African leaders are not free, that if you do not have a political will, you are not even free. So if you don't have that will, you can't even make a decision for yourself. He said many head of state still take instructions from London, from Paris, from Washington, and from other places. But they have to stand up against the Western influence in Africa. And he said it is a shame because most African leaders prefer to align with the West, with Western powers, to fight against their own brothers. And he gave this reason by saying that this is why Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger had to break out from ECOWAS and form the Sahel Alliance or the Sahel Confederation. And he said the Sahel Confederation has come to stay. If any country thinks that it is just a mushroom platform that will dissolve in the next future, they are joking, because the countries are the population is supporting the Sahel Confederation, and more countries are expressing interest to join the Sahel Confederation. So here is what he said during the China-African Summit that just took place on the 4th and the 6th of September in China. Listen to this brilliance from the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso. Indeed, a lion does not give birth to a goat.
Most of our African leaders are not free. When one is not free, one cannot determine a destiny for their own people. Burkina Faso's Prime Minister Dr. Apollinaire Joachim Kyélem de Tambèla, during the just-ended China-Africa Summit that took place in Beijing, delivered a speech that left other puppet African leaders mute. Listen to this and share your thoughts with us in the comments section. There is and will never be any going back. The alliance of Sahel states is a moving train. It must be said that currently, Burkina Faso's economy is based on 3 pillars. First, there is mining production. Second, there is agricultural production, particularly with cash crops like cotton, sesame, cashews, as well as food crops. Third, there are livestock products. At present, we are emphasizing a 4th pillar, which is the development of human capital through professional training. The theme of this conference is of great interest to us as it concerns the industrialization and modernization of agriculture. In this regard, China serves as a reference for us. In less than a century, China has industrialized, modernized its agriculture, achieved food self-sufficiency, and begun exporting its products. The Chinese example should inspire us. However, China achieved this feat due to its vast territory, large population, and above all, political unity and the will to act. Unfortunately, this is what is currently lacking in Africa. To drive a specific policy and make decisions, political will is required. And to have political will, one must be free. Most of our African leaders are not free. When one is not free, one cannot determine a destiny for their own people. In Africa today, particularly in Francophone Africa, many heads of state still take instructions from Paris, London, or elsewhere before making any decisions. We have leaders who prefer to ally with Paris or Washington to fight against their own African brothers. In such a context, building an integrated development and industrialization framework is difficult. As for my country, Burkina Faso, we have observed that in West Africa, cooperation between states has been difficult, as some heads of state receive instructions from outside to act against other West African countries. This realization led us, together with Mali and Niger, to leave the regional organization, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. I can tell you that something new is happening in Africa. The three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, formed an alliance on September 16, 2023, and from July 6, 2024, they will form a confederation of states. This confederation aims to become a federation of states in the coming years, as soon as possible. I can assure you that this path is irreversible. Although the confederation was established under the leadership of the three heads of state, the populations of these countries have embraced this project and are now pushing the leaders to move forward. It is no longer a matter of leaders. It has become a matter of the people of these three countries. In this regard, cooperation with China holds great potential for the future of this confederation. Which covers an area of more than 2.7 million square kilometers and has a population of over 80 million inhabitants. However, it must be said that the modernization of agriculture and industrialization require certain prerequisites, and the most critical one is energy production. Energy is the weak link in our countries. For example, in Burkina Faso, during periods of extreme heat, we are forced to regulate energy through power cuts to ensure everyone is satisfied because energy production is insufficient. You cannot industrialize a country without first solving the energy production problem. In this respect, we expect China's contribution to the development of energy production in Africa, which is essential for industrialization and agricultural modernization. The modernization of agriculture also requires other prerequisites, such as road and rail infrastructure for the transport of industrial and agricultural products. In Burkina Faso, we have established a rail production industry to facilitate the construction of railways. In this area too, we are awaiting China's expertise and contribution for the next projects. Beyond the country, we have a project to construct a railway linking the capital of Ghana, Accra, to Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou. So as you can see, there are no shortage of projects, and all of this is necessary, because if we industrialize and modernize agriculture without planning for the distribution infrastructure, there will be a bottleneck that will impact industrial and agricultural production. But that's not enough. We also need to take care of the people who are the artisans of this industrialization and agricultural production. Training is necessary, and so is the health of the people.
Donc la formation est nécessaire et aussi la santé des hommes est nécessaire. Sur ce plan, je remercie
On this front, I again thank China, which is currently building the largest reference hospital in Burkina Faso, which will be operational by 2025.
et qui sera fonctionnel à partir de 2025. Et donc, c'est pour vous dire que
Therefore, I want to emphasize that we should not view industrialization and the modernization of agriculture in isolation, but as part of a whole to avoid bottlenecks in the process.
pour qu'il n'y ait pas de goulot d'étranglement dans le processus. Cela dit, je reviens
I return to say that China has an interest in a united and developed Africa.
à une Afrique unie et développée. Si l'Afrique était unie,
If Africa were united, instead of dealing with 54 different states, China would only deal with one.
Chine aurait affaire à un seul État, les négociations se feraient beaucoup plus facilement.
Negotiations would be much easier, and resolutions would be made much more quickly.
En outre, si l'Afrique
Additionally,
développe,
if Africa develops, Africans will have greater purchasing power, increasing trade with China and multiplying exchanges.
et les échanges se multiplieront. Donc, nos intérêts sont partagés.
Thus, our interests are shared. Africa needs China to develop, and China needs Africa to develop as well, because these exchanges stimulate growth.
Développer également parce que avec les échanges, ça produit, n'est-ce pas, un effet de stimulation. Alors donc maintenant,
So now, Excellencies, heads of state and government, I want to tell you that the future depends on us, and above all, on political will.
dépend de nous et dépend d'abord d'une volonté et d'une volonté politique. Donc, je souhaiterais que
I hope we will carefully consider this and realize that we must first and foremost free ourselves from all tutelage and turn toward ourselves so that sustainable and harmonious development
nous
can take
orienter
place.
vers nous-mêmes
Thank you.
afin que tout développement harmonieux et soutenable puisse se faire. Je vous remercie.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you heard for yourself, this was a very bold speech made by the Prime Minister, the PM of Burkina Faso. And you could see the way other African leaders were so uncomfortable when he was raising his or making his point. This is the same way Ibrahim Traore held other African leaders captive during the Russian African Summit. And I'm very happy the way the mindset they now have, the way they are thinking. They are thinking beyond what they were thinking before, and they are taking actions beyond what people expected them to do. And you could see the way Nigerian President Tinubu, who is the chairperson of ECOWAS, could not even feel comfortable while he was talking. And we truly hope that these messages will sink in the minds of our African leaders, and they will begin to take bold steps and make their own informed decisions, because they listen before they make a decision that concerns the development of the country's even internal policies. Like he said, they have to hear from London, they have to hear from Paris, they have to hear from Washington before they can even make these decisions, which is sickening. And it is so pathetic to know that for more than how many years today that Africa claim to have been independent, they still take instructions from all of these major Western powers. So I hope that this is a clarion call to all our African leaders to wake up and turn away from all this foreign domination and be able to make their own decisions as leaders, as sovereign nations, as elected presidents, as presidents that is beneficial to their country and to their citizens. This is what he is talking about, and these are the steps that Burkina Faso has taken, and all the other countries in the Sahel, the Sahel nation. This is what they have decided to do. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The speech was so powerful, and I said this is important for us to begin to publicize some of these speeches so that it can go viral for our people, for the young people in Africa to learn from, and start holding our leaders to to account. We have to hold them to account. We have to start advocating for change. Look at all those old presidents sitting there. The president of Cameroon sitting there, Tinubu sitting there. We saw other presidents who could not even sit for 5 minutes without sleeping. So we have to get rid of all these dictators and put in and bring in new blood that will build the continent the way we want Africa to be, that can really bring Africa to its complete independence, to make Africa truly sovereign, all African countries to be truly sovereign, to be called sovereign nations. So it's very important that we, the youth, we should continue to speak up. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, I say thank you for listening, and I hope that you can share this video to go wide as possible and talk more on your own platforms and encourage our youth to begin to speak up. Because if we don't speak up, these dictators will continue to ruin our continent, ruin our lives, and ruin the youths that are the leaders of tomorrow. So God bless you, and continue to watch, comment. Let us have a very active conversation in the comment section, and just be respectful with your opinion. Just put your opinion, put it more in a respectful way so that we can all be cordial to one another. I can promise you that if I see any disrespectful comment, I'm going to block it. We don't have room for that. We just have to speak maturely. We can disagree in our opinions, but we don't have to be disrespectful to one another. So God bless you, and keep sharing, and don't forget to subscribe or join the membership program. Thank you very much.